Well, hello. This is Rev.Gay Beauregard from the Alpine Church of Spiritual Living. I am going to be reading my thought for the week that I wrote this last week, as well as re-giving my talk that I gave on Sunday. When I was trying to record it, I didn't push the button right, and it didn't happen. So I've been requested by more than one person to have it be put up on YouTube, and so that's what I'm proceeding to do now. I'm going to give it again. Maybe it won't be the same, obviously, energy as it was with all the wonderful people in the room, but here we go. So our thought for the week is, I trust you have ramped up your quiet inner meditation time during this month, and if not, I encourage you to start now and don't give it up. There's no greater value and gift you can give yourself than becoming still, concentrating on the breath, and then opening your heart to be available to the whisperings of your divine self. We've been referring to Roy Eugene Davis's booklet, An Easy Guide to Meditation, this month. If you want a free copy, you can come to church services. I'll kind of glance over this. I said, we're going to be available at church, so come next Sunday to church. The Sunday message is entitled In the Silence. It is in the silence, turning away from the chaotic whirling events of the world, that we can be fed, nurtured, and inspired. Our true self is divine and infinite in nature. Going within brings forth these innate qualities and enhances awakened spiritual consciousness. The side benefits of meditation are highly documented. They are: mental thinking processes become more organized. The body's immune system is strengthened. Biologic aging processes are slowed. You don't get old as fast. Stress symptoms are reduced. Intuition is awakened. Creativity is stimulated, and appreciation for living is enhanced. And these are just the side benefits. This coming week, do yourself a favor and bring these benefits into actualization for yourself. Once you tap your toe in the refreshing waters of the divine within, you will be encouraged to continue on the path of self-realization. Say with me, as an infinite being, I honor my innate self and do everything I can to bring forth my soul qualities into my experience. Love points the way, and I am ever so grateful. So as I wrote in the thought for the week, I am trusting that you have ramped up your meditation time during this last month, as we've been emphasizing it. I start out with a goal of 15 minutes. And I set a timer. Well, actually, I have a clock behind me when it's wound that chimes on the hour and the half hour. And so I can just determine from that when I'm starting and when I'm getting 15 minutes in or not. But what happens is primarily that I will go the 15 minutes and then I realize that my head and my brain has been all over the place. And so I, a lot of times, will kick in another half an hour, 15 minutes, and maybe another half an hour, whatever it takes, to where I can actually feel the stillness, feel the place where there is no thought, where I can feel light and have all of the other whirlings around in my head be quieted, so that I can listen to that still small voice within. I will keep next to me a little notepad or journal, because I do have things that come up in my time of quiet that I want to capture and want to make sure that I don't have to try to remember them. And so write them down. I jot them down real quickly so that I can capture them lately. So as we come up from our time of meditation, time of stillness, time of refreshment, I call it a sweet time. How do we carry that through as we step out into the world, as we step out into our day, into all the things that we are doing? How do we keep that closeness of the Spirit in our hearts, in our brains, in our thoughts, and in our actions. So I think that it takes three things. I think it takes, first one is intention. We need to have the intention to be able to bring that soul substance that we are out into the world. We want to intend to do it. The second thing, once we have that intention, is that we need to have awareness. We need to be aware, moment by moment, of what we are doing. And the third one is it takes discipline. It takes a constant habit forming way of being so that we can remember to remember to remember, and it becomes a habit. So as we look at those three steps, let's look at the first one, which is intention. And I believe, hopefully, I mean, it's just making this a broad statement, hopefully the intention is that we come through our day with the request that this divine energy, this divine essence of what we are, will come forth through everything we are, as we already, because it knows exactly what we have need of, and so that we can step back and allow it, ask it to live its life through us, because we know that's going to be for the highest and best good. I just finished listening to my first audio book that I rented from the library. Kathy told me about it, and it's an app that you can get called Libby. And so the first book I checked out was written by Candace Cameron Bure, and it's entitled Kind is the New Classy. And I didn't realize anything about her other than the fact that she's an actress. I knew that. But I guess she's quite a deeply functioning Christian. And so her it's wonderful because she sprinkles little bits of scripture throughout her book. And she indicates that she does pray a lot. She takes a lot of things to God. And a lot of times she writes down her prayers. But she said that her intention, what she wants to do in life, is to be an ambassador of God in the world. That's really what her intention is for her life. And I think that's a great intention, to be an ambassador of God in the world. And again, if God gives you a little problem with that word or that concept, change it to love. I want to be ambassador of love in the world, because we know God is love. So I want to be ambassador of God in love in the world. And we would ask, are you seeing the things, what would Jesus do? Well, what would love do? When we have a situation that comes up into our experience that we might be thrown off a little bit about, what would love do in this instance? When we do that, we are placing ourselves on a solid rock of foundation, not on the shifting sands of what is happening in the world today. Now, the second step, once we have our intention, is we need to become fully aware of what we are thinking, what we are doing at each moment, what we are holding in our consciousness. Awareness by moment by moment by moment. How many times have we gotten in the car and started it up and driven off and got to where we were going and thought, how did I even get here? Don't even remember passing any of the streets or anything. That is called mindlessness. And what we want to be is mindful of what we are doing. Because what we want to do is allow this God self to steer the car, to steer the boat, to guide and direct us, to navigate us through this life. Phil Bolsta, in The Eyes of God, wrote, "The more you trust in your ability to tune into your intuitive wisdom, the easier it will be to access it. Relying on logic alone to guide your actions will take you only so far." It is followed by a quote by Ray Bradbury. "If we listened to our intellect, we'd never have a love affair. We would never have a friendship. We'd never go into business because we'd be too cynical. Well, that's nonsense. You've got to jump off the cliffs all the time and build your wings on the way down. I love that. Listen to that intuition and build your wings on the way down. Now, we have to be aware, though, of what voice we're listening to, whether it is that still small voice or is it the voice of the ego. Because the voice of the ego is telling us to beware, don't, do this. It talks about separation. It talks about fear and limitation. That is the voice of the ego, which we do not want to listen to. The Course of Miracles states, the ego always seeks to divide and separate. The Holy Spirit always seeks to unify and heal. One of the chapters in Candace's book, she spoke about confidence and how important confidence is. And I believe that confidence, when it is centered in the higher self, when we are allowing that higher self to come out through us, that confidence is the outward face of inner faith. Confidence is the outward face of inner faith. This last week, I was reading our book study that we're doing now, which is Deep and Simple by Bo Lotsoff. And he wrote on faith. When we choose faith, it doesn't mean that bad things no longer happen to us. It just means that there are no longer any cause for fear or bitterness in our pain. Fear implies we're unprotected, and bitterness implies something shouldn't have happened the way it did. Both are false to the person of faith. Fear says, you better watch out. It's dark up ahead. But in daily practice of faith, you will remind yourself, of course it's dark up ahead. Of course. Up ahead is not my business. This moment is, and it's light enough for me to see here right now. I love and then he goes on to give the example of a coal miner. And coal miner has the light right here on his head, right? And so wherever he is, there's light enough. He said, this light by which we see comes from inside us. The light only exists here, wherever we are, never there, and it only exists now and never then. Faith accepts this. Fear refuses it. I love it. So be aware of what you're listening to. If you're listening to faith, if you're listening to love, if you're flapping your wings on the way down, perfect. But don't listen to the fear. Don't listen to the ego. The third element then to bring forth this God self throughout our day is, and I know it's not an easy one for a lot of us, it's called discipline. Phil Boster writes, the operative word is daily. You cannot maintain a higher consciousness by meditating, chanting, praying, or reading inspirational content sporadically. You might as well prepare for a career as a concert pianist by playing 10 minutes of Mozart every other day. It takes daily practice so that it becomes a habit, something that we don't even think about consciously, so that we can be available and open to what that little still small voice that is very tiny is whispering to us, letting us know that we are carrying our light within us wherever we go. It is there, if we will only trust it and know that it's there, day by day, moment by moment. Lao Tzu said there is no need to run outside for better seeing, nor to peer from a window. Rather, abide at the center of your being, for the more you leave it, the less you learn. Search your heart and see if he is wise who takes each turn. The way to do is to be. The way to do is to be. To be love in action. To have that intention of knowing that this beautiful, expressive, divine being within us is running the show for us, as us, within us. Develop an awareness of what you're doing moment by moment, what you're thinking. Be mindful of every moment. And then, yes, take that disciplinary action for yourself to be this love and expression. So still your minds, still your bodies, open your hearts, trust, have the divine faith, have the confidence from within that right where I am, God is, and all is well. Namaste. Beautiful blessings.